Good morning and welcome to the Rangers Reviews morning briefing. Firstly, fully aware that we're a few minutes late. We had some major technical problems between Adam and I today, so we are a few minutes late, so we do apologise for that. And for everyone in the comments who did guess that would happen, you were right, and we do apologise. Firstly, Adam, how are we doing this morning?
Fine. Technically, you're 22 minutes early, really, so it's all good, I guess. But yeah, I'm doing okay.
Yeah, that's a frustrating thing. I think we were both on 10 minutes before 9 o'clock, and then it's just technical problems, which someone can have. Alan Stewart with the classic 2 words, lads, not good enough insult there. So we do apologise for that. Obviously, a bit of housekeeping to do before we start the show, and just shout out our sponsors, Seneca. For anyone who's challenged up top, and I was getting a few digs about my Barnet when I was in the live review in Germany, so maybe I need to have a visit soon, but that's the best place to go if you want to get your Barnet done. For people who've got problems from good to bad to completely off, you can get it on there. So yeah, check them out if you want to do that. Let's start talking football, Adam. I think this maybe could be seen as the most exciting season, exciting week of the season, even though the season's not started. But it's a time where optimism is high. Everyone's absolutely buzzing for the real stuff to get back. Obviously, that starts for Rangers at Kilmarnock on Saturday at Rugby Park. How are you feeling going into the new season?
Yeah, good. Not as negative as some on the back of pre-season. I've got a few concerns just in terms of the availability that we've had of some players, like centre halves playing the goalkeeper is a really big thing, and I think that needs to be a big thing this season. How we build up from deep, we've not really had much of an opportunity to do that because 3 or 4 centre halves have been injured at any one time during pre-season, which is not ideal. So it's going to need to be a bit of a fast start in that sense. But I'm happy with the attacking players that I've brought in. I know there's 1 or 2 that maybe people aren't sold on already, which is a very Rangers thing to do. I'm happy so far. I think it was always going to be a bit of a gelling time over the first month, really. Now, the main thing is getting through it as best we can. So I'm comfortable with the business that's been done, particularly when Cifuentes comes in, as we think it is going to be at some point this week. I'm comfortable there. Everybody would like another centre half, and I'm absolutely one of them as well. But realistically, with the bodies that we've got there right now, I think maybe it's going to be someone needs to go. So that's the only thing I think that we're really missing at the minute on paper. But we'll just need to wait and see how things go when it gets started.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Adam, and we'll touch on this to start with is pre-season in general, because you probably get 2 ends of the scale, don't you? You have people who say, pre-season doesn't matter at all, and you don't put too much emphasis on results, or certainly results, maybe not performances. Performances always kind of matter a little bit more in results in pre-season. That's certainly my view. And you've got other people other end of the scale who, read a little bit more into the results and then get frustrated if the results aren't, positive, and they'd be delighted if they were. I mean, where do you sit?
Somewhere in the middle, and I think that's probably where this pre-season is. The thing for me is you look at maybe teams like Spurs, to use a terrible example, or Chelsea, Pochettino, and you see the differences that their new coaches are making right away in pre-season, and you can see what they're trying to do in terms of this big change and how they attack, how they defend, all that sort of stuff. For us, I guess it's a little bit different there because we're seeing new players doing new things, and that we can sometimes think, is that something new we're doing tactically, or is that something that a new player's bringing or not bringing, as the case may be for some of them. So, yeah, for me, it is all about fitness there. I'm a little bit concerned, I guess, that we've not been able, like I said, we've not been able to get one of our stronger 11s on the pitch, really, in terms of getting 10 or 11 of them on there, just for various reasons, whether it's injuries, whether it's rotation, etc. So it would have been good if we did a couple of games just to get them sort of all bedded in and ready to go. on that side, but I'm not too bothered about results or anything like that. Obviously, defending is a bit of an issue. You can say, oh, but these teams were higher quality opposition, etc. But these defensive issues have plagued us for a number of years, so I don't quite think that one matches out for me. So yeah, somewhere in the middle. There's been some good points. There's been some bad points. I think it could have been better, but I'm not sure there was anything really that was in Rangers' control there, other than getting players in a lot earlier. But I think we've done very well.
Yeah, and I think Neil's point kind of alludes to that, doesn't it? I mean, all it does matter is the start of the season in the league and the run up to that Celtic game at Ibrox. And there's no easy games. It's a cliche that people always say, but I mean, Rangers do have quite a good fixture card in terms of the Scottish Premiership at the start of the season, and they'll be hoping to go into that Celtic game with full points on the board. Adam, you touched on it there. There's also a few comments coming in. It's kind of the defensive situation, and that would be a concern. Obviously, there is an open training session for, I think it's MyJers members, isn't it, Adam?
Yep.
Today at Ibrox. So it'll be interesting to see if the likes of Ben Davies and John Souttar are back in training today. Obviously, Connor Goldson, how much of the session is he able to do? I'd be very surprised if Goldson, was to start at Rugby Park on the weekend. I'd probably go as far to say I'd be shocked if Goldson was kind of thrown back in on that surface after being out for so long. I don't see it happening, but you certainly hope that both Davies and Souttar are available for selection. Then you've kind of got a dilemma. Who do you play? Is it Souttar and Davies? Is it Souttar and Balogun? I mean, firstly, what would be your centre-back partnership of choice going into that Kilmarnock game?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think Goldson will be there. I think there might be a case where maybe Goldson sits out the next two, even though it's a Champions League qualifier, maybe just to get himself back up to speed and then start to come in. Out of everyone that's there, Balogun and Souttar probably would be the ones that I go with. Davies, I'm on record as saying I think he's absolutely got some attributes. I'm not sure those attributes are away to Kelly. Unfortunately, just in terms of how that will be, the way that McInnes plays, etc. So I would prefer Balogun in there with Souttar. I think those two have been very good in pre-season. I don't think Souttar's been a little bit better the games that he's played, but I think Balogun has come in and not really done much wrong. So as of right now, where we are right now, I would say Souttar and Balogun, if both of them can manage to make it through a week without being injured.
Yeah, I mean, just on that, Adam, why would you pick Balogun over Davies? Because I know it's an interesting one, isn't it? I think most people would agree that Rangers' strongest centre-half partnership when everyone's fit will be Goldson and Souttar. With Goldson out, why would you prefer Balogun over Davies for this game? And is that something you'd continue until Goldson's back, or would you take it as a game-to-game sort of thing?
No, I think I'd be fine with Davies in the qualifiers. Weirdly, I just think Balogun, in terms of physicality, in terms of being able to bring more organisation to the defence, being able to cover for Ridvan a little bit better, provide a little bit of extra height in there, with Kelly inevitably throwing long balls in and wanting to get physical. So I think that would be what I would go with for this game. As David said, Davies, he isn't aggressive enough at all. There's an argument that we should try and protect that a little bit better and try and accentuate his strengths. But I just think for this game, with all the context around it, with the struggles that we're having at left back, etc. as well, it's more about, for me, I'd rather play Balogun and Ridvan, I guess, as the combination on that left-hand side just now, rather than like Barisic and Davies, for example, just to get us through this first game.
Adam, I know you're an intelligent tactical insight, but accentuate pulling that out the bag at 9:15 in the morning.
Very eloquent.
Yeah, I don't think I've got that in the locker at this time in the morning. That's a fantastic word at this time. We'll talk about the fullbacks now as well, because I think one of the biggest talking points from the Hoffenheim game, and I was over there, it was both fullbacks didn't think covered themselves in glory, especially the first half. Defensively, I thought both Tavernier and Yilmaz were poor. I thought Yilmaz was culpable for both of the goals, and I thought Tavernier was defensively poor as well. I thought Butland bailed him out a couple of times, and obviously for the goal as well. I think he completely switches off and focuses on Balogun taking a knock, and he's caught out of position. The left back situation, I mean, would you still go with Yilmaz at Rugby Park?
Yeah, I think we need to look forwards. I think he got caught out midweek for the third goal. I don't think it was entirely his fault against Olympiacos, but he gets caught sleeping a little bit. For the goals at the weekend, absolutely, it was horrendous. Both of them were. You're right. Tavernier could have been at fault for 2 goals, I think, earlier than the goals that we conceded. So they absolutely need to tighten up. We know defence. We know what opposition are going to target those areas. But for me, Ridvan over Barisic is a looking forward or looking back type thing. I don't think Ridvan hasn't put a foot wrong until these 2 friendlies, and I think it's really unfair to judge in friendlies. So for me, I think we need to start as we sort of mean to go on. And for me, Ridvan represents the future in terms of what he can bring to the team. People are always going to have reservations over him in terms of his height, etc. But he's still better than Barisic in the air. So I find that really, really bizarre, given he's like 7 inches shorter or whatever it is. So for me, I think the only thing Barisic gives us better at this point in time is his delivery into the box. But I just feel like the manager needs to put his faith in Ridvan, absolutely. And I think, to Kev's point, I think Ridvan is better in sort of active defending, if you like. Barisic will back off and back off and back off and let a pacey winger get to him, as will Tavernier on the other side. Ridvan is a bit more aggressive in there. It can mean that he gets caught out a little bit, but I just think in there, particularly with Balogun and maybe I don't know, I'm sure we'll come on to other lineups, etc. But maybe a little bit more security in terms of central midfield than we've had in some of these games. That might work out better. But yeah, for me, I think it needs to be Ridvan. And I think if we aren't going to bring anyone else in, or if Dujon Sterling isn't earmarked for that role going forward, and it is going to be between Ridvan and Barisic for it, I think we need to put our faith in Ridvan. I think, as Dean said, the criticism has been way over the top from people that maybe still have scar tissue from last year and think he was brought in by Ross Wilson. We spent a lot of money. We haven't had anything yet. Therefore, he is rubbish. I don't think that's the case. I think he can be a very, very good player for us.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Yilmaz still at Kilmarnock. I think everything you said was spot on that in terms of, Barisic being, very much the past and Yilmaz having to be the future. I think when you invest so much money into a player that the Rangers have with Yilmaz, you've got to give him a chance.
He's not played. I think he's nine league appearances. I think it is off the top of my head. So it's not as if he's tried and tested and hasn't worked out. I think he absolutely needs to be given the time if the manager keeps him past the transfer window. All signs point to the fact that he will, but it is still a little bit of debate.
Yeah, no, I think it's understandable why the debate has started, because Yilmaz hasn't covered himself in glory in pre-season, but it is pre-season. I thought he was good towards the end of last season, albeit it's kind of that caveat, isn't there, Adam, that it wasn't these sort of pressurised games. There wasn't much riding on them. I know there's always pressure playing for Rangers, but I mean, the league was over and stuff like that, so you do have to look at that. I mean, there's quite a few comments about Dujon Sterling possibly playing left back. That's something that he can do. I've been quite vocal. I think that's something that he will be deployed at left back this season, particularly in maybe the more difficult games where you have to maybe defend better. He's a very good defender, in my opinion. The problem with the weekend is he's only just back in training. He only got 15-20 minutes at the weekend. So he's probably not ready enough to start. Naturally, he's a very fit player, but I'd be very surprised to see him start on Sunday. I think it will be Yilmaz at left back, but it's certainly something moving forward that I think that's definitely an option. I don't know, from a tactical point of view, Adam, I know you'll have looked at that. Do you think that's something that could be deployed by Michael Beale?
Definitely, yeah. And I think that might allow us to maybe be a little bit more aggressive in terms of how we play further forward. I think we've seen some of the midfields that we've had, if it's been sort of Raskin, Cantwell, Dowell, there's a lot of onus on Raskin to cover both fullbacks, cover the spaces centrally. And he's maybe looked a little bit swamped against Hoffenheim in particular, maybe a little bit of Olympiacos as well. So bringing in Sterling there and having 3 defenders, if you like, behind Raskin, spread out a little bit more across the lines, just gives a little bit more security. So I absolutely can see that. And that would then mean moving forwards, there's much more of an opportunity to get maybe Lammers, Cantwell, Danilo and Dessers all in the team together, because you've got that more security at the back. So that is something that I could see happening in difficult games as well. Yeah, absolutely. Just to completely shut up, if you like, and defend first, but certainly in some other games as well to open up the attack. I could see that happening. In terms of him playing, it would be a massive statement to play him on Saturday, and I think a massive statement against both left backs that are there. To be honest, if he rolls in with 4 training sessions and 20 minutes of actual play for Rangers and is thought to be better than both left backs that are there, then that's a bit of a statement from the manager. I would be surprised, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean the comments are flooding, and always, guys, thanks very much for the comments, and obviously subscribing helps that as well. So we'll try and get up as many comments as we can, and try and kind of base what we're talking about today off them and let it flow perfectly. So let's let it flow perfectly. Kev Armstrong here talking about Ryan Jack. You start him at the weekend or even for the qualifiers. I think this might be the perfect time, Adam. Obviously, firstly, nosing it off Ryan Jack. I mean, what would be your starting lineup? You basically gave us your defence, but you can run over it again for us. What would be your starting XI for the first game of the season?
Oh, you're going to get hate in the comments for the XI. What would I go? Butland, Tavernier, Ridvan, Balogun, Suter. Then I think I'd be looking at Raskin, Jack, and then Cantwell, Lammers, Danilo and Dessers. So I'd play all 4 in this one. Jack in there to give a little bit of security in the middle, and then the rest of them sort of just ready to go going forward. I really think the 2 big, not issues, but the 2 big conversations for me up top is how does he get Cantwell and Lammers effective in the same team, and Danilo and Dessers similar. How does he get those 2 partnerships to work? I think it needs to be those 4 in terms of the way that he wants to play and the players that he's brought in. He's spent the most money on those 3, and obviously Cantwell is one of the best players in the team, so he needs to play as well. So it's how he does that, how he fits those in. Lammers and Cantwell sharing that number 10 spot. Cantwell maybe playing a little bit deeper, and then Danilo and Dessers up top. I think works. I think it will work. They just need to get them playing and get them as much time in the team, as much time playing together as they can. So in that sense, I think it will be that kind of 4-3-1-2, if you like, with Raskin, Jack and Cantwell, or a 4-1-3-2, whatever you want to call it. That's how I think it will be. And as Reece said, I think Cantwell being box to box is good. I didn't like him as much playing off the left last week. I don't think he was able to get back and really help cover with Ridvan. It left us a little bit short there personally, and then it left us a little bit short in the middle as well. So playing him a little bit more centrally as a sort of number 8 box to box, but able to interchange with Lammers, I think is one that I'd be quite happy with.
Yeah, I think you could probably argue that maybe 9 positions in the team are kind of nailed on at the moment. If Suter's back fit, he's probably, who'd you play at centre back, and maybe that one midfield role as well is probably the 2 you'd.
Yeah.
Is it Jack? Is it Lundstrom? Is it Dow? I'd maybe go for Kieran Dow. I've been quite impressed with Dow in pre-season. I thought he made an impact when he came on at the weekend in Germany. I think the argument for Jack would be that he kind of knows the league. His game management's very good. He's got that experience. The plastic pitch, does that come into consideration with Ryan Jack? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it would. There's quite a lot of comments coming in. This leads us on perfectly again about Jose Cifuentes. It's Michael Beale all but said it'll be done early this week, so that could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be Thursday. There's obviously stuff like visa issues and stuff like that just to sort out. But he's going to be a Rangers player, barring something drastic happening. Just on Cifuentes, Beale talked about it at the weekend. You can listen to what Michael said on our YouTube channel. The full interview's up there. Talking about could he be thrown in against Kilmarnock at the weekend? I'd be very surprised if he was, just due to the fact that he's not trained with the team as much and getting to know his players, and Michael Beale will probably want his players to be gelling a little bit better going into that game. I mean, first of all, would you start Cifuentes if he comes in? You've obviously said you wouldn't. Why wouldn't you? And secondly, I mean, how do you see him fitting into Rangers' best starting 11, not XI, starting 11?
No, I don't think he would. I just think in terms of cultural and all that sort of things, I think he is the one that's probably going to take, I think, the most amount of time to settle. Having played in Ecuador and then played in MLS, it's a bit of a switch, I think, coming over to even European football, never mind British football. So, no, I think this is the one that I'm maybe. It's great to get him in, absolutely, but probably given how long it's been rumoured for, I feel like this is the type of player that you probably wanted to get him in tactically, spend a bit of time on the pitch with him, really get him to understand the role that he's going to play, because it might be very different to what he's used to. And by that, I mean, for me, when I watch him watched him in LAFC, I watched 3-4 games maybe. He's pretty much playing where Sam Lammers is playing and where Cantwell's playing. He's like a number 8 or a number 10, but going forward. So there's an argument there. Do we need another one of them when we've got Lawrence trying to get in there, Hadji trying to get in there, Roof probably trying to get into there as well in terms of minutes that he wants. So that sort of leads me to think that, and the manager said it a couple of times, he might play him a little bit deeper. I'm not sure that's great from what I've seen, to be honest. I don't know if his passing is at the level of say, a Ryan Jack in terms of short passing, etc. He is quite risky with his passing. That's a good thing sometimes, but I'm not sure in terms of maybe controlling the ball and getting all that getting sort of possession and recycling it and all that jazz. I've maybe just not seen enough of it, but he doesn't scream to me a deeper player playing in a 2 or even playing as a number 6 on his own. So that's an interesting one for me, Euan, because the manager might try and do that with him. If he does, then great, because he's very energetic. He can get forwards if it means more attacking players on the pitch, but we don't upset the balance in terms of the balance between attack and defence, then fair enough. But he wouldn't be in my team just for all those reasons. I think we're talking he probably won't be able to train until whenever it is, the day after he gets announced. It could be Thursday, it could be Friday. So I think it's just too long there. And I think you want to give him a bit of an acclimatization period. Another big word there. So yeah, we'll need to wait and see how that goes. But how he fits him in is fascinating, I think, because we're now very, very top heavy. From going from maybe not having enough, it's now very top heavy. And there's probably an argument that we might need another deeper midfielder if qualify for the Champions League, get rid of all the players we want to get rid of, and a proper cherry on the cake type thing. So yeah, be interesting.
Yeah, we've got a lot of people obviously didn't know we're starting early because there's a lot of comments coming in saying they didn't know they missed half the show. You'll be able to rewind it and listen to it all again. You can skip through me talking and just listen to Adam if you want.
Dublin Bears in Santa Ponsa. That's a double behind enemy lines. That's a brave guy.
Don't even think about that. I try and get up as many comments as we can from members, so I just put it up there. But you've got a good point there, Adam. Yeah. Interesting point about Bailey Rice. I mean, listen, I'm a massive fan of Bailey Rice. I think he's a player that needs to get minutes this season, because ultimately, if you get a few comments coming in about the Santa Fonsa thing there, he's a player that ultimately needs to play, because if he doesn't play, then he's not going to be happy eventually. I know he's a big Rangers fan, but there will be teams in England sniffing around him just due to the kind of homegrown status, and we've seen that so much recently with the kind of Brexit rules and stuff like that. But I think Bailey Rice is a player who's definitely going to be a first team player at Rangers in the future, but I think it's too early for him to come in and start any of these games.
Yeah, I think we get very excited about these players. How many has there been, even in the last 20 years? Probably 30 or 40 of them that we get excited by. I think he does look great. But yeah, I think only in his second season, really, at Rangers. But I like his passing range. I think he's good. I think he can offer something back there, absolutely. Even if it's cup games, I'm looking at the cup game that's coming up, maybe against Morton. If he can get some minutes on the pitch in that one and keep going, the manager clearly rates him. He played him against Livingston the day after he was playing international duty. He's had him on pre-season games, etc. He's clearly got talent there, but it's whether or not we think he's old enough or ready enough to be coming in and playing 20 or 30 games. I don't think so this season.
Yeah, just my two cents on Cifuentes. I've watched him quite a lot as well. I think he's definitely more of a box-to-box player, more of a number 8 really than a kind of a more holding player. But I think I've said this before. I think he can be play alongside Raskin and offer you a little bit more kind of defensive stability than say I can't really play in there, but also kind of have the ability to kind of impact the game from attacking areas. So yeah, it's hugely exciting. It'll be interesting to see, when he comes in, how many training sessions he gets, and you'd imagine that he'll if he's in and it's done and it's dusted before Saturday, he'll definitely be on the bench, and you look at getting some minutes before the massive Champions League qualifier next week. I believe the second leg between Servette and Genk tonight as well.
I don't know.
It's either tonight are we tonight or tomorrow night? It has to be.
Yeah.
So that's one to keep an eye on to see who Rangers play. I think maybe lastly before, and we'll answer any comments. If anyone got any questions, get them in the comments. We'll try and answer them before Adam has to go. Just kind of going back to pre-season generally. I mean, put you on the spot a little bit here, but I think I might know your answer. It might begin with S and end with Airs. Who's really impressed you so far in pre-season?
Yeah, no, it is. I think Lammers. There's a case that Lammers is the only one that's impressed consistently in pre-season. But I just think, for me, I was mega on the fence about it. The goal scoring thing was a bit of a red herring for me. Provided we got enough players in that we thought were going to score goals, and I think we have done that. So that sort of is negated. But just in terms of physically, I guess, how you would play when you get a player of that height, there's a tendency to assume that he's the one type of player, and then when he's not, then it can be a little bit different. I think we've seen that with maybe guys like Cedric Eaton. When he came in, people are expecting him to be this powerhouse number 9, and we're flinging balls into the box for him to batter defenders and stuff, and it was never really his style. So I was a bit concerned about that for Lammers. It felt a little bit like square peg and round hole. And it might still be. It's very early. Like we can't say it's too early to judge in pre-season for players that haven't played well and then say someone is brilliant because he's played well in pre-season. That doesn't quite balance out. So just for how maybe on the fence I was about it compared to how he's actually been in terms of his touch, in terms of his pressing, in terms of his off the ball work, I think has been really, really good. And he's got a couple of goals as well, which was the thing that people were concerned about. So yeah, I think it probably has to be Lammers in there. I think once we get past him, I think it's maybe Kieran Dowell. Like you said, I've been quite impressed with him. Again, I don't think he had the best game against Olympiacos. Dowell, Barisic, Davies isn't a great combination on that left-hand side, I think, in terms of defensively, in terms of physicality, in terms of aggression, all that sort of stuff. I think Dowell has showed a little bit of that in patches. If we pair him with again, maybe a Balogun on that left-hand side or a Suter on the left-hand side and maybe Ridvan, then I think we could see the best out of him. So yeah, to go back to the point that someone mentioned in the comments, I think Dowell or Jack against Kelly I'd be quite happy with. But yeah, I think it's probably Lammers and then Dowell for me in terms of who's impressed in pre-season.
Yeah, Adam, we're getting a lot of love in the comments, I must say. Just a quick one to Uncle Dave. We have Adam has gave his starting XI to Kilmarnock earlier in the show, so once we finish up, we'll be able to rewind and listen to that. He goes through that in good detail and explains his selections. Just a quick one, Adam. I know you've had a book out about Steven Gerrard before. You've got one coming up about Dick Advocat. Kev's asking when that's out.
Yeah, I don't have a date for it yet. It will be. It might not even be next year. I'm not sure. The publishers are very, very busy, so I haven't organised a date for it yet. But yeah, I'm sure I'll be annoying everybody on Twitter and on YouTube and on everybody else once I do get a date for it. So yeah, coming soon.
It's one Dick Advocat. I know you've got a kind of unique page on Twitter kind of to promote that book as well. So you can follow Adam. I'm sure you'll be able to know when that book is out. So just generally, I mean, transfer window, it's still got a long way to go. I think it's 1st of August today, so it's just over a month left. What do you think needs to be done in terms of the remainder of the transfer window? In terms of incomings, I presume you'd say maybe left centre back would be the one you'd look to address. In terms of outgoings, I mean, how many players and what players would you look to shift on, and what players could you maybe see going if the right bid came in?
Yeah, I think if we're going to be serious about player trading models and all that jazz, if we manage to get players out that we either think are at their peak value just now and won't play as much anymore. So that's maybe guys like Fashion Sakala, Yanis Hadji, Glenn Kamara, maybe not at peak value, but certainly in terms of maybe won't play anymore, has 2 years left on his deal. We're not going to get a better fee for them than we're going to get this summer without them signing new contracts. So I guess those three would be considerations for me in terms of how much money we could get for them. Then we're looking at guys like Matondo. Ideally, if we could get some money from Matondo or even get a loan out there. I think his contract was 3 or 4 years. So if we can get that going, a loan with maybe a buy option next year for some kind of fee, then that would be great. Other than that, Barisic and Lundstrom, a year to go, pushing 30, maybe won't get new contracts, etc. Should we be looking at getting some money in for them and trying to reinvest that back into the squad? I think it really depends on the players that go out and the bids that come in. I think that's a big one. I've seen loads of people on social media saying, "I can't believe we're selling Sakala over Matondo." I can, because if you're a batting club and you come and you say, "Do you want Fashion Sakala, who's done this over the last 2 years, or do you want Ravi Matondo, who hasn't done much at all?" Then the club's going to come and say, "Yeah, I'll have Fashion Sakala, please, thank you." So, yeah, bit of a balancing act there. There's obviously a couple that I've probably missed in terms of squad players that maybe don't have much of a future, but I think those are the sort of 5 or 6. If we manage to get all of them out, then we've pretty much paid for our business already, which is ideal. But you'd like to think there's a little bit more in the pot there for a centre back. Obviously, if Ben Davies goes as well, which I know is the big hot topic there, then absolutely we need to bring in another first choice centre back as well. And then once all that's done, if we got those players out, I think we're maybe a little bit light at the bottom of central midfield. So that would be another one that I would look to bring in. But other than that, I think we're okay.
Yeah, Scott Wright is here for 56, says Xander. But I think the general consensus is much what you said. There's probably maybe 5 or 6 players that can still move out on the window. The squad's quite big, and if Rangers can recoup money, and because you don't want players at the club who are not playing, it's not beneficial. You see it, the top clubs they prefer running with kind of smaller squads, and just because of team harmony and stuff like that. And it's interesting as well. There's probably a few young boys who can maybe step up and do some minutes, and it'd be good for them if the squad was smaller. Just lastly, before a few people have said that I wasn't happy with who you picked, and that's why I jumped off screen quickly. But due to technical problems, I'm actually filming this on my phone and running it off my laptop. But I had to check something on my phone while I remembered, because we had a message the other day from an avid listener, Chris Graham. So he asked for a shout out. Him, Daniel and Matt and 12 other Rangers fans completed a 72-hole golf challenge for the Love Up charity day for cancer over the weekend. So 72 holes is quite the feat. I think they've raised, as of yesterday, over $3,000 for charity. It was 12 fans doing it in total. So it's a massive shout out to them. That's an incredible achievement to raise that amount of money for charity. I hadn't forgotten at the start, but due to technical issues, I couldn't read the message on my phone, so I had to go and check it quickly to make sure that I got everything right. So yeah, to Chris, Daniel and Matt, I know you all listen every morning, so massive congratulations and commend you for doing that for charity. That's a fantastic thing to do. So that's why I nipped off screen quickly, just so I could double check my facts on that message. I think just lastly, before we go, guys, the last one we'll talk about, and just to get your opinion on it, Adam, because I value it so highly. Alex Lowry, what to do?
It's just the same as any other promising loan player. Again, like we've had the last 20 or 30 years, it's do you keep them around the team and get them minutes? But I think, as the manager says, you need to. Would your teammates pick you? Is something that he said quite a bit, and it's been in reference to, or certainly inferring Alex Lowry. Would your teammates pick you? Do they think you should be in the team ahead of other players? And I think the answer is probably no for both Alex Lowry and Leon King right now. I think they'll probably see the potential there, absolutely, but they're obviously not seeing it in training. The manager's not seeing enough in training that would suggest that he's ahead of the players that are there, even the new signings coming in. So I think that speaks volumes at the minute. So for me, what to do at this stage. I think for both of them, it's probably a loan. I think, and I would I'd like to see SPFL loans for them. I know that there's more value maybe going to League One or the Championship in terms of the exposure that they would get, the new environment, etc. But I would like to see both of them at top 6 clubs in the SPFL. I think that's fair. I think that's certainly a level that they could play at and they could excel at. They're both young enough that you can get them a season there, and then see how they're doing and make a decision on them next year. But I think this year, just with everything going on, and there's always things going on, but just in terms of the pressure, the new manager coming in, the new signings, etc., I think they'll probably be even more risk averse unless there's someone coming in who just pushes people out the way in the way that Barry Ferguson did and said, "Look, I'm playing, I'm better than you, give me the ball." I haven't seen that so far from those two, really. So I think for me, a loan for this season would be best for both of them.
Yeah, I do agree. Especially with Lowry, I think you make a good point about where he can go in the level. I don't think there's any reason. I think if Alex Lowry was up for available for loan, there would be clubs in the Scottish Premiership at the top end of the league who would be interested, and I think he's an excellent talent. It's all probably about finding the club he can go to, which is the right fit for him in terms, not just in terms of the playing side, but you want a manager who's going to be on him and help his development. So it'll be interesting to see. I will ask you actually, any clubs in mind if we're talking Scottish clubs?
In terms of SPFL, I would say someone like Hearts would be pretty good for Lowry, I think. And then if I was picking someone for Leon King, maybe someone like St Mirren. I think they're doing a decent job defensively. They're quite sound. Stephen Robinson has them well drilled, etc. I think King going in there could be a decent move for them. They'll be expecting to hit top 6, I would have thought. And they are they're playing quite well, I think. So that would be it. Hearts, I think, is maybe just quite an obvious one, but I think the way that they play, the sort of pressure at Tynecastle, the amount of time that they're going to get in the ball, I think in most games, I think would be really interesting. So off the top of my head, that'd be the two I'd pick.
Adam, I know you've got to get off. You're a busy man today, but genuinely, thank you very much for your time. We've overcame the audio issues. We've been inundated with comments today, so it shows how popular you are when you come on these things. That's enough of boosting your ego. I'll deflate it later on WhatsApp. Guys, thank you for everyone who's contributed to the show and tuned in and smashed the like button. We will be back tomorrow at the usual time of 9:30 AM. I believe it's Joshua's birthday this week. I'm not exactly sure what day it is. So the big man's obviously he's had a great week so far with the news breaking about his becoming the editor of the Rangers Review, and there's so many positive comments. I'm sure everyone's right behind him. I'm just laughing at a comment I can't read out from Xander. I'll tell you later, Adam. But so Josh will be back at some point this week in his new role. It's his birthday this week, so I don't know what day it is, but when he's back, I'm sure everyone will wish him a happy birthday. But it's been a pleasure to have you on today, Adam. There's obviously lots happening this week. There'll be loads of content on both our YouTube channel and our website. Obviously the member zone as well for anyone who's in there. There'll be bonus content going up this week. Adam, thanks very much. Score prediction for Saturday.
I'm going to go for an edgy 2-0.
There we go. 3 points on the board will be the most important thing going into those Champions League games. Guys, thanks very much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow. Cheers.